All right. All right. So with the recent sale of the James Bond franchise to Amazon, might be a good time to think about what we're going to do from here on out. Here's kind of my idea of what I think we should be doing because there's already been rumors of castings, there's already been talk about who should be the next Bond. Here's what I think we should be doing. Needless to say, Amazon's going to make this up. Bond has died with Daniel Craig, and, not much we can do about it. Unless we do what I'm proposing right now, which is the exact opposite of what they want to do. Uh, the discourse around James Bond, at least from my opinion, was that it was great with Sean Connery. It was kind of with Lazenby. Back to greatness with Connery. Moore was a little too cheesy in the 70s. Dalton was too serious in the 80s. Brosnan was too campy in the 90s. And then, what's his name? Daniel Craig did pretty good with Casino Royale and Skyfall. However, people did not like Quantum of Solace. And then Spectre was pretty controversial from what I remember. I loved it, but what are we gonna do? But then universally, No Time to Die was pretty well not received. Technically, if you want to go by the numbers, Craig only has two universally praised Bond films. The main consensus from the fans of Bond that I can tell, that I talk to, is that we when you do something new, some people love it and some people hate it. Kind of like with Spectre. Some people liked it, some people didn't. You can't always make everybody happy. Well, I think I think we know how to make everybody happy. Except for certain political groups. They might not like this perspective. Bond has been obsessed ever since the 70s with like pushing forward. We got to push Bond into the new millennium. We got to push Bond into the next century. We got to, have you decided to join the 21st century? This whole kind of thing. No. Bond is a nostalgic franchise. It's time to go back. Go back to the 60s. Set Bond in the 60s. So the technology and all that crap is just like old, right? He doesn't have a cell phone. He doesn't have a laser. He doesn't have a watch thing or whatever. He's got the ejector seat in the car again, right? Like, just take him back to that Goldfinger vibe, huh? That way, it'll be super nostalgic for everybody because that's the Bond that everybody wants to see again. I mean, everybody just agrees that Sean Connery is the best Bond. So just do that again. Just make new stories in that time period. We're fighting the Ruskies again. It's the Cold War. Bond's doing his shtick. Moneypenny's the secretary. He's flirting with her again. You're going to shoot it all sleek and modern, but it's going to be set in that time period. Why I think we should do this is because we've had two films recently that took place in the 1960s that were very popular and very successful. One of them was Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the other was Ford versus Ferrari. Both massively successful films in 2019, set in the 1960s. I think it's time to put Bond in the 1960s. Strip him down, give him the old kooky weird Q again, and you can give him certain kind of like gadgets and stuff, and you can even kind of make fun of modern times. Q or somebody could be like, who would ever want to be reached 24 hours a day? I wouldn't, certainly wouldn't. Just put that kind of campy crap in there. No one will ever want a phone in their. No one will ever want a communication device in their pocket. That'll please the old diehard fans. It'll be trendy and cool and retro for the new fans. Because anything you knew you do with Bond is just going to be compared against the old. So just do the old. We need to lose this whole like terrorism thing. There's a terrorist attack all the time, or there's like, or every, like the cyber attacks, and oh, we've got he's hacking into the mainframe. Like, lose all of that stuff. Ugh, strip it back. Guy wants gold, or guy wants money, or guy wants power or political control or whatever. Just go back to those tried and true things, because even in modern day we see people like corporations trying to take over the world, but I don't know, just put it in a cozy time frame, and we can go to a little fantasy land, and we don't have to like deal with like modern politics and stuff like that. The biggest problem with the biggest problem with Bond is that he's a modern character. Or sorry, try that again. The biggest problem with Bond is that he's a nostalgic character set in modern times. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way anymore. Put a nostalgic character in a nostalgic time. That way you're double dipping here, folks. If you put a guy like Bond in modern times with like, global terrorism, nuclear holocaust, political discourse, we're just reminded of how awful modern day life is, and we just get turned off. We go to the movies for the fantasy. We go to the movies for the fun. And we've seen recently with a lot of Hollywood pictures that by over politicizing everything, whatever the political beliefs of the audience are, they just get turned off. It's like, I'm not coming here for a news article. I'm coming here for fun. Give us some fun. So how do you do that? Send the audience back in time to a simpler time, a time before the madness, a time when people, relatively wanted the heroes to win. And like I said, I'm not saying that this is going to be an easy feat to master. Tackling Bond is always going to be tough, whether it comes to casting or plot or whatever. But I just feel like setting up Bond to have an old, stripped down adventure and just doing something simple is the way to go. Once it becomes too big and bloated and overcomplicated, the audience just gets bored. It unplugs, it turns off, they disengage. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. So, I mean, we see that recently with the success of films like Top Gun Maverick. Look at how great that film did. And it's like just a bunch of fighter jet pilots like going to school and talking and planning for one mission. And then at the end of the movie, they do that one mission, and it's not the end of the world. The bomb isn't going to explode, killing all life on Earth, or, the whatever. It's just a mission story. Hey, this is the mission. We trained for the mission, and then we're going to go do the mission. The end. Don't overcomplicate something that does not need to be complicated. When most people talk about James Bond, they're usually talking about the past. Oh, I love it when James Bond, did that thing with Q and he was Sean Connery. That was fun. I mean, people like myself that are still relatively considered young, we're nostalgic for Brosnan Bond, like GoldenEye. That's probably one of the most nostalgic Bond films that I have, is that movie. I rarely look at modern Bond and think, hey, this is going great. I'm absolutely loving everything that this is doing. When you look at Daniel Craig and he did Casino Royale and Skyfall, those were fun. But what about Quantum of Solace? No. What about Spectre? I really liked it, but I went to the movies with like 3 people, and like one of them thought it was okay. I thought it was really great, and then the other one hated it. So what's the consensus there? And then with No Time to Die, I watched it once and I don't even remember it. It wasn't very good. And that was the way that we ended the Daniel Craig tenure as Bond? Oh no. That's terrible. So I think what we got to do is just go back to basics. Just give this a try. Put them in classy sports cars, things that that we know have aged well because they're still cool today. There's a ton of stuff from Bond films that at the time were thought to be cool and now they're not. I mean, the big one I always hear about was people were surprised when they go back and watch GoldenEye that, wait, Bond's car is that BMW Beamer thing? What's that about? But the DB5 is still a classy car. A lot of the stuff from the 1960s is still considered really slick and stylish. Huh. James Bond's all about being slick and stylish. Why don't we just send him back to the time that was more slick and stylish? It sounds like a good idea to me. Let's give it a try. As far as casting goes, too, I hear a lot of discourse about who we should cast. Should we get Idris Elba? Should we cast Henry Cavill? Should we cast the Kick-Ass guy? No. Get some unknown, really good actor that's doing some nose to the grindstone good work somewhere in London. Hey, this guy's really great. He's been doing stuff for 10 years. He hasn't gotten recognized yet. Puts in the good work. Nice looking fella. Throw him out there. See what we can do. Don't try to get a movie star. Henry Cavill, too famous. Idris Elba, too famous. Kick-Ass guy. I don't even know his name. What's his name? I don't know. But he's been in a Godzilla film, so he's too big. Anyway, that's what I think that they should do with the James Bond franchise. Don't overthink it. Strip it down. Make it simple. Make it fun. And maybe even make a little miniature, like 3-story arc of a trilogy out of it. Hey, we're going to set up a few things in this first film. Maybe introduce Spectre in the second film. And then the third and final film will be the conclusion. I don't know. Don't overthink it. Oh, and also find some people that like James Bond to probably write the script. That seems to be the newest unfortunate trend in Hollywood right now, is they hire a bunch of people to write for this intellectual property that don't like the property. Yeah, don't do that. Because if the writers don't like the project, why the hell should I like the project? Anyway, that's what I think that they should do with Bond. Just have fun with him again. Don't take him too seriously. He should be handsome and dashing and charming and tongue-in-cheek and kind of funny and then kind of violent. And he should be a little bit of mix of everything. Kind of like his martini. Mix him up with a lot of good qualities. Shaken, not stirred. It's not that complicated, folks. And remember, just have fun with him, all right? Don't overly politicize it like the rest of my existence. Oh, no. But Amazon does own him, so I don't have a lot of high hopes. Anyway, I know that's really depressing, but so is the state of modern cinema.